It's your boy DarkCon here with another Tuesday live stream with everybody's favorite. I actually got no co-host with me this time. And before any of y'all go asking, yes, I did rip off a PSA 6 just only temporarily though, just for the sake, because I thought we had to get ourselves off to a bit of an exciting start, because boy, has it been a while. I mean, first had a business trip that has really kept me away from this channel entirely. And then as soon as I get back, I upload one, count them, only one debate review, which is just an unscripted car vlog rant. And then after that, I get struck because of my best of 2017 compilation, which prevents me for a full week from doing anything here on my main YouTube channel. And luckily enough, that strike, the restrictions from that strike, has expired just in time for me to hang out with y'all lovely people. Myth Cullfish, Red Feather, Cat Chat, Aircraft Sparky, JC Armitage. That refers to all of you people. Hello, how are y'all doing? Glad you could join us. TJ Kirk is definitely a capitalist, but he grifter for socialism because the idiots will gladly pay him to shill. TJ Kirk was Vosh before Vosh was Vosh, says Aircraft Sparky. Well, I mean, he's a capitalist in practice, I guess you could say, but I'm just mostly saying that he's a socialist by his beliefs, is what I'm meaning. So yes, today, to get things off to a little bit more of an exciting start, we are going to be responding to this video that I have been saving for a little bit from the Amazing Atheist, aka TJ Kirk, of where that he has the question posed to him, am I a socialist? And of course he goes on a rant as well, talking about why he thinks anti-SJW is stale. And that part I'm not going to have as much to respond to, I guess. But there is still some points here and there that I felt like were worth responding to. But definitely the socialist part, where he's all like, I'm not a socialist. But then he goes later on saying and advocating for the seizure of, of business. Of transferring it from the business owner, the original business owner, to the workers. So yeah, by definition, you're a socialist, DJ. Okay, response video done. No, I'm joking. There is still some other points aside from that point to be brought up here. But nonetheless, and hello, Scorch, who has just joined us today. You got struck from 2017. What the fuck, says Red Feather. Yes, it was a compilation of best moments from 2017. I actually got that video uploaded in 2018, I believe, early 2018, but who's splitting hairs here? Anyway, shall we get on with this?
Sophronius asks,
what made you stop identifying as an anti-SJW? Do you just not want to be associated with Dave Rubin? Or do you think the arguments you made back then were wrong?
I mean, it's not as simple as going back and looking at a bunch of arguments I made over a gigantic period of time and saying, oh, all of that was wrong. I don't think all of that was wrong. I think a tremendous amount of the stuff that I said back then was right. So remember the guy who helped land a probe on a comet and then a bunch of feminists got mad at him because he had a shirt that was sexist?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time me actually watching the video. I've only listened to it a couple of times, this first time watching it, and suffice to say, that's an interesting shirt right there.
I'm not going back.
Hello, blind girl in the chat, by the way.
Back on that and saying they were right to chastise him. Remember?
And I just noticed he's wearing eyeliner. Like, I knew that he had like painted flames on the temples of his head right there, but I didn't realize that he was wearing golden eyeliner. Like, what kind of shit is this? A sexist shirt, LMAO. Yeah, indeed. I mean, oh, the guy likes how beautiful women look, so therefore he decides to wear a shirt with said beautiful women on. So how dare he?
When I did that whole kerfuffle about how I felt like Lara Croft Tomb Raider's boobs should have been bigger in the movie, and it got written up in, newspapers across the globe for some reason, probably because they were trying to figure out some way to market the movie. Remember that? I don't take that back either. I can say the vast majority of that stuff I still equally think is ridiculous today, but the problem is that what I was doing when I started making anti-SJW content was just like, hey guys, look at this. Isn't it ridiculous? And now...
Pumpkin Trucker in the chat says McAfee was Epstein. I heard about that. You know what? I should have probably put that on the docket as subjects to talk about in this live stream, but unfortunately I did not line that up. Maybe I'll look into it a bit more next week and line it up for next week's show. Anyway.
It's transformed into, hey guys, look at this. Isn't everyone who's politically to the left ridiculous? It's like, whoa, wait, what happened here? Wait, I'm on the left. Hold on. What are we doing? What are we doing, guys? And then all of a sudden it's like, we need a President Trump. We need a guy. We need to embrace authoritarianism. I mean, think about this. The trajectory of the people who were sucked into the anti-SJW thing, into the like alt-right pipeline or whatever the hell, all of them went from people who were like, I can't believe these crazy feminists are trying to censor boobs in my video games, to... you know, I'm offended by Cardi B's disgusting display of immorality on the stage. Like, think about that. They literally went from like, the crazy feminists are trying to take our boobies away to...
Okay, now that's first point of contention right there, honestly. There were like two different camps of anti-SJWs. You gotta keep in mind, TJ. There is first the conservatives, who were like somewhat anti-SJW like the whole freaking time, like they were against the whole race baiting, white privilege narrative, and all the feminazi shit this whole time, and political correctness around LGBT issues and all that other sorts of stuff. And then there's all you guys, like the people who would be defined in part of the skeptic community, like the skeptic community, anti-SJWs. They were, of course, originally atheists who did not give so much of a crap about sexual abstinence, to where that they were all like, you know, it'd be a natural inclination of you all to think, oh, this is great, this sexualization of women or whatever, or just sexualizing stuff in general, not women specifically, but just in general. Whereas the conservatives... they might not go on about it. I don't know. I do not know of what comparison you want to make of how much who goes on this issue more, either conservatives or feminists. But those are obviously the people who would be frowning upon the idea of, say, breastfeeding in public, exposing your boob out there. Now, I've come to the opinion that I just don't really care enough about breastfeeding in public in general. And I don't really care that much about the whole Cardi B situation. But you had all the Ben Shapiros that go on about that, and all the skeptic community members who were, like, still now and back then against third wave feminists, but are all like, Cardi B, it's whatever. But anyway. And you were, I don't know. I don't see of how that the conservatives and how they were, like, expressing their ideas. When you were like not identifying yourself with conservatism from the get-go, should get you a turn-off from wanting to call yourself anti-SJW. But I do want to say that I agree to a point that anti-SJW is stale, but I would approach it from a different approach than what TJ is coming at it. I would say that it's gotten stale mostly because it's overused more than anything, all the way to the point of where that I've heard people say that literally ANCAPs are SJW, like acting like that ANCAPs are just inherently SJW. And I'm just thinking to myself, wait, what? A lot of them are against the PC bullshit. It just didn't make sense to me. And yeah, the idea that all leftists are SJW, or that seemed to be a lot of the rhetoric coming from a whole lot of people, or you'd have people like No Bullshit that would be crying SJW at a whole lot of media in Hollywood and whatnot, when really it's not that SJW, and it just goes making himself look more like, as I Think I'm Real would put it, a right-wing SJW more than the people he's accusing to be an SJW. So, anyway.
How dare you show your boobs on the stage? It's like, oh my god. Wow, that you've lost your way, guys. You've lost your goddamn way. Come.
Who lost their way? I mean, People like the Ben Shapiros of the world, they've never really lost their way on that point. They've always been frowning upon the idea of sexualization that would be way too publicized. Whereas you guys, skeptic community members, generally speaking, as from my observation of things, did not really lose their way. They don't really care about it. Like Sargon of Akkad, for example. I mean, did Sargon of Akkad ever get critical about Cardi B twerking with Megan Thee Stallion on stage, doing a whole bunch of borderline lesbian shit? Anyway. Right Feather asks, are you a fan of TJ? No, I'm not a fan of TJ. I mean, I can respect TJ's charisma, and that's probably the only reason as to why that I don't flat out dislike and fully disrespect the Amazing Atheist. I do say that he says stupid and even at points psychotic bullshit that makes me go thinking, oh, fuck you, TJ. But at the same time, I cannot deny the fact that I'm just a little bit jealous of his charisma. That is probably like the only reason why I don't just outright disrespect him. Just me anyways. I mean, if you find no respect for the guy, I cannot fully blame you, but just me personally. But no, as far as how I see TJ Kirk, especially nowadays, he's more of a useful foil for response material. And by the way, for all of y'all watching, don't forget to hit that like button if you legitimately like this content. It helps in the algorithm, y'all. Continuing on now.
Come back to the boob side. Come back to the big butt side. Come back to the cool side. Anybody, whether they're on the left or on the right or whatever, I don't want to be a centrist on this, but I have to. Anybody on any side who's telling you that it's wrong to like boobies or it's...
Might I just point out there that there seems to be... that hard leftists seem to have a bit of an allergic reaction to the idea of being viewed as centrist on something. It's just kind of funny in my point of view. Just thought I'd point that out.
Wrong to like big butts jiggling in your face. Anybody who says that to you is a liar, sir, or madam, or whoever.
Wait, 1 second.
I don't want to be a centrist on this, but I have to. Anybody on any side who's telling you that it's wrong to like boobies, or it's wrong to like big butts jiggling in your face. Anybody who says that to you is a liar, sir, or madam, or...
In my honest opinion, I don't think that they're technically a liar. I mean, I disagree with them, but disagreement does not mean lying. Let's just get the record straight. I just hate the idea, the overuse of the word lying. Like, lying is, like... as far as I'm concerned, it is a legitimately useful word to be describing that somebody is misinforming and intentionally misinforming somebody. And I just hate it when the usefulness, the utilization of that word gets worn down because somebody calls somebody a liar just because, difference of opinion, or you misinformed even though that you unintentionally misinformed, you're still a liar. It's just bullshit.
Whoever, don't fall for it. It's a lie. It's a lie. Now, if you're asexual or whatever, you're not into that, cool. If it's your choice, that's wonderful. That's great. That's cool. I got no problem with it.
JC Armitage says, is Cardi B destroying society? No, but her music is ultra cringe and makes Soulja Boy sound like something listenable. Precisely, JC. Thanks for the comment. Opinionated Scotsman in the chat. Hello there, sir. It's not 2016 anymore. Things have moved on from bedroom feminists and owning the libtards. I don't know about it moving on from owning the libtards. I mean, yeah, that kind of content, that sort of label of content has kind of moved on. But the idea of owning and really, to put it more maturely, defeating the libtards, quote unquote, I mean, that's still an onward cause or an onward movement. Why? Because we're fighting for our liberties that, liberals and whatnot sort of disagree with. Anyway.
But if you're like one of these weirdos, it's like, oh, I'm scared of any sort of...
By liberties, I mean private property rights and gun rights and, that sort of stuff. Just to clarify to any leftists who might be watching in the future, I know how you all are for the gays being allowed to marry and so forth.
Sexuality, then get out of here. Don't want you. You're weird. You got problems. You got issues. You need to go see a therapist or something. Get that dealt with. Take advice from me. I am a sane man. But yeah, I agree with most of the anti-SJW stuff, but it's just not the priority anymore. It's not the priority when I know that me saying, hey, look how ridiculous this is.
Red Feather in the chat says Cuttlefish, he's in an outhouse. LOL. You know what? It really looks like that. I want to know why he's now filming an outhouse, says Myth Cuttlefish even further earlier. Like, yeah. That's exactly what it looks like. He's got an over-glamorified, or glamorized, whatever the appropriate word is, outhouse right here. That's what the backdrop looks like. What's the deal here, TJ? I mean, if you're trying to go for a log cabin look or some kind of forest, home sort of look, you're not pulling it off that well. Just saying.
Leads to, hey, let's embrace authoritarianism. I didn't know that, like, by saying that Anita Sarkeesian's videos were crap,
Myth Cuttlefish says, just say no to Marxism. That shit is everywhere. That should be priority. I agree, Myth Cuttlefish. Anyway.
I was basically, getting into some kind of weird Weimar Republic. This is degenerate art. We must have a strong man to. Like, I didn't know we were playing that game until, like, I was a little slow on that uptake. And so now it's like, I don't even want to touch it. I created the damn genre. I invented the damn genre, and I don't even want anything to do with it anymore. It's like, this is gross to me now. Get this the hell out of my sight and my presence, right? So that's where I'm at on that stuff. But I still think SJWs are ridiculous. We just call them woke scolds now, so it's fine. Everything I used to say about SJWs, I just now say woke scold, because that's the approved in some circles anyway, like the Voshite circles way of criticizing these, like, ridiculous, like, performative, oh.
All right, there's another contention right there. He goes saying the Voshites, the Vosh sort of circles. Like, associating Vosh with a brand of anti-wokeism. And I have to heavily disagree. Like, I mean, is he really that much anti-woke? I mean, yes, Vosh, he may damn well not have a problem with women or men or anything else being sexualized in video games or anything else like that. But he still, like, is pushing the bullcrap that is critical race theory for some, for one example. And there's also the idea that he went on that, what Adam and Sitch call a witch trial against Count Dankula. Like, did anybody see that one live stream of where that he was debating against Count Dankula? And he kept on, accusing or at least questioning if he was a white supremacist. And he kept on insisting that, no, I don't trust your word on this. I'm going to still keep on pursuing this, yada, yada, yada. Just... I don't know, that seems pretty borderline woke to me, almost seems. But nonetheless, he's not really that anti-woke. I mean, I'm closer to give the benefit of the doubt that TJ Kirk is still anti-SJW than agree with the idea that Vosh is anti-SJW or anti-woke or anything like that. Anyway.
The boobs in this video game objectify, whatever, who cares? You're garbage. Don't speak to me. I am better than you, and you do not deserve... My ears cannot be tainted with the hideous sound of your terrible voice spouting awful opinions. I can't handle it, okay? But Shuna asks...
In your opinion, why is there a massive wave of polarization, extremism, and political violence in these past few years? Are we at the edge of a massive upset?
Yes. Just simple yes. I don't know about how much that there is to disagree with this. I think... I think I'm just going to go ahead and skip on over to the socialism crap. He literally calls it that right there, as you can probably see within the timestamp, socialism crap. Okay.
I don't care what happens to you, you piece of pig shit. Desecrated Rat says,
if you are a socialist, I assume you are, what do you think is the best way to transition into socialism? What would our ideal socialist society look like?
I don't know that I'm a socialist. I don't know what I am in terms of political label, other than just I know I'm on the left. I know that I'm a leftist. I know that our capitalist system is not working anymore. I believe in a strong social safety net. I believe in some sort of central state, but I think it should be very democratically controlled. I believe that we need a more robust, thriving democracy than we have now, but I also think that we need to improve the intelligence and critical thinking skills of the population before we can trust them with that democracy.
You know, I wonder if that's what, Vladimir Lenin and Mao Zedong and, the Kim Jong dynasty, the Kim dynasty, all proclaimed that they were wanting to achieve within their brands of different types of socialism. Although, I'll grant that North Korea isn't like a full-on, I don't know, whatever you want to like play semantics or whatever. Just getting on with the point, though. I mean, how much did they proclaim? Oh yes, let's fight for democracy. Just the idea of that. Oh yeah, let's implement democracy. I believe in a strong social safety net and a somewhat centralized and bigger government to provide for everybody. But let's have it democratized. That is not too different from what socialists proclaim, TJ. I mean, let's just be honest here. Democratic centralized state, lol, what an oxymoron. Pretty much, Night Watchman. And hello, by the way. Anyway, let's see. I feel like there's another point that I was wanting to respond to, but we're just gonna move on.
So I don't know exactly what you would call me, and I don't really care.
Pretty much a socialist, as he will fully expose what he actually believes here in a little bit.
I just advocate for positions. If you want to call them socialist positions, that's fine. If you want to call them something else, that's fine. You cannot change the content of what I believe by slapping one label or another onto it. Now, as far as how we transition to my...
I remember that there was one time, I remember listening to a little stream clip. Sargon of Akkad was on with TJ Kirk, and TJ said that he was, quote-unquote, somewhat of a capitalist. So I wonder of how much of a capitalist supposedly he would call himself now. Like, he thinks that capitalism is heavily flawed. I know that he just said that earlier. And he's going to start advocating for more and more socialist tendencies and policies and whatnot. But all the same, I wonder of how much he self-proclaims to believe somewhat in capitalism or whatever.
My society, I think probably the best way to do it would be through the whole, like, worker co-op thing. Start democratizing the workplace. I don't want to get...
Worker co-op and start democratizing the workplace. Okay, so how are we going to obtain that, TJ Kirk? Like, are you just talking about voluntary worker co-ops? That's what you advocate philosophically, is that people run their businesses not with one single sole owner or even a handful of sole owners, and then all the employees that work under them and whatnot? Are you just advocating for a voluntary worker co-op as opposed to that model? Or are you talking about government, us voting for government to start seizing businesses and private property slowly but steadily?
Rid of Amazon.com, for instance. I love Amazon. I order all my stuff from Amazon. The ring light in front of me is Amazon. The other lights, everything around me practically, I ordered from Amazon. Amazon was what gave me the ability to not have to go out into the world anymore and look at disgusting human beings.
Alright, I got a question for y'all. What is your opinion on Amazon personally? Like, me personally, I have to say that I am disapproving of Amazon overall. Like, I don't want to do anything within the market to prevent Amazon from doing their regular old business and whatnot. That's not what I advocate for. But me personally, I just don't like Amazon, mostly because of the idea and the fact that it sort of softens up society. Society and humanity starts relying more and more on other people to just drop off and deliver the exact stuff that they want for themselves, instead of them having to pretty much go out and search for whatever it is that they need, be it groceries or whatever else, instead of them having to go out of the house. Like, exercise. One sole example right there. I mean, if you're not going to go to a gym, the least that you would do is, like, go out and walk to and through the grocery store to gather up your ingredients. But with Amazon, or whatever else that you're buying out there, but with Amazon, you don't have to do a lot of walking. Just walk to the doorstep and then get your gifts from the Amazon delivery person. Like, that's a big time softening up of society, in my opinion. But nonetheless, let's continue on. Well, actually, read the chat here a little bit. The Conundrum says, hey, at the Dark Conservatarian, hey, look, it's Bihan. I am Sub-Zero. Is that a decent enough impersonation right there, Conundrum? Anyway, Zachary Colley says, meh, I tend to look for alternatives to Amazon. Precisely. I do too. there is only like one thing that I really bought from, well, actually two things now that I bought from Amazon. That be the green screen that I got for this entire Blue Fire background that you see right here, y'all. And then I got some orc teeth that I am going to be using for a D&D campaign that I am playing with some of my friends in to sort of use as part of my costume of being an orc and whatnot. That's about it. Outside of that, I tried to actually go out searching and looking for my stuff. I mean, aside from Dr. Squatch soap, but that comes from directly from the Dr. Squatch company and website. When I go asking for or ordering some Dr. Squatch soap, I don't have to go through Amazon for that. A lot of the books I would have bought on Amazon, I can find elsewhere. Precisely. Barnes and Noble, anybody? You look like a bee hunt, aka noob sailbot, says the conundrum. Yep, well, thanks. JC Armitage says, TJ's definitely talking about seizing the means of production because no one forms worker co-ops because those models of organization scale up a lot worse than even a traditional hierarchical model. Yeah, and might I just talk about, Dr. Squatch, good taste I see, says Zach McCauley. Okay, Zach, what's your favorite scent of soap, if I might ask? My personal favorite is palm oil, or no, pine tar, that's what it's called, pine tar. I like pine tar the best. But anyway, oh yeah, to JC Armitage and to everybody listening, just for the sake of conversation, I remember listening back to the debate that Destiny had against Richard Wolff, Professor Richard Wolff. Actually, I was listening to PSA Sitch and Adam Friendhead review that live stream, that debate, and what was revealed on there is that Destiny was pointing out this one worker co-op in particular that Richard Wolff was just relying on as his one example. I mean, I don't know, he might have brought up more examples, I think, if I remember that debate correctly, but the one example that was brought up the most as far as worker co-ops working in the Western world and in the United States and whatnot was a company called Mondragon, or Mondragon as Destiny kept on pronouncing it as, because he's too much of a gamer geek to pronounce it, I guess, correct way being Mondragon, but nonetheless. Mondragon, Destiny gone explaining that they only vote of who is going to be manager on a very small scale. Like, you go on down the ladder, like the local shops, the employees that work for those local shops vote of who is going to be manager. And even then, it's not exactly a worker co-op. A worker co-op would mean that everybody gets to decide of what goes on with the company. At least that would be the pinnacle example of a worker co-op. But no, they are like voting of who gets to be manager, which is closer to a worker co-op than I guess somebody like being the sole owner and being able to fire anybody that they want to, being able to anyways. But nonetheless, the upper CEO, there is like a hierarchy of an upper CEO that actually owns the entire company, as explained by Destiny in that debate anyways. The only thing that was worker co-op-ish was them like voting for their managers on the more localized level. But on the international, or at least national level, no, it was pretty much sole owner, sole runner of the business. And they did not have much of a say in who gets to do it and who gets to run the company. The employees do, I mean. Of who gets to be CEO. Zachary Colley says, I like pine tar, cold brew, cedar, citrus, aloe, mint, and bay rum. You know what? I gotta like try out bay rum and all the other scents of Dr. Squatch, but I'm just too attracted to pine tar. Conundrum says, I prefer Scarlet. She uses her period blood as a weapon. She mastered the highest level of feminism. Ew. Yeah, exactly, JC Armitage. Dude, ew. Maybe I'll nickname you Lonely Wolf 3.0 in my Discord server, because in my Discord server I have JJ nicknamed as Lonely Wolf 2.0 because of the degeneracy that he'd been posting in the NSFW channel for recently. Anyway.
Now I can just stay in my home where it's safe, and I can just have stuff brought to me. And that's wonderful, and I like that. And the fact that they're getting faster and faster deliveries, I love it. The fact that they are gonna have floating, fulfillment centers in the sky and send down drones with my stuff for it to be even faster, I love that. I love pretty much every freaking thing about Amazon.com except for their hierarchical structure. I think that everybody who works at Amazon.com, from the delivery driver on up or down, or from the CEO on down, however you want to look at it, I think that they're all vital components of that corporate machine, and that they should all have a piece of it. They should all, if you're an Amazon employee.
So the fresh new hire who hasn't even finished college yet, he gets to be a voter on what happens within Amazon. Let's say, for example, that within a certain sector of Amazon, everybody goes voting for a higher wage raise. Like, want to take it up to $23 an hour. What if that inevitably cuts into the profits of Amazon to where that certain sector, that certain shop of Amazon, that certain shop of Amazon is a net loss on the overall company as far as finances go? Eventually, you would have no choice but to possibly shut down that shop unless you compensate it in some other way, like maybe raising the price of your product or whatever else have you. Like, the idea of even the more ignorant and freshly hired employees of your company being able to vote on what happens with the company, just a bad idea, just on ignorance alone. Quite honestly, that's the reason why there is usually a sole owner, and then he has his board of trustees who are actually savvy on how to run a business. Now, that's not to say that they're always right. Don't get it twisted, but nonetheless. Okay. Mask off. Getting dry. Anyway.
You should have a chunk of Amazon. You should be a part owner of Amazon.com the moment that you sign up to work for that company. And I feel like that should be the case across the board. Now, maybe we can start with Bernie Sanders' proposal of giving the workers like 20% of the company and move on from there. So I think that
giving the workers 20% of the company. I mean, all the hard lefties on the internet, they like to say, oh, Bernie Sanders is not a socialist. And yet, according to TJ's own logic right here, according to the example that he just brought forth about Bernie Sanders, this is evidence that Bernie Sanders is just a flat-out socialist. I mean, beforehand, I was still going to pretty much call him a semi-socialist, at least. Maybe not as hard of a socialist as, say, Owen McDonald, for example. But nonetheless, maybe. But the fact that he wants to start seizing like 20% of the company, say, and put it into the hands of the workers, that's pretty damn socialist. Even more than, I think, Kyle Kulinski, for that matter. I don't know. I would have to get more up to date on what exact positions that Kyle Kulinski has as far as economics goes. I know that he's hard on the left, but I don't think even that he technically wants to start putting ownership of the companies into the workers' hands. I mean, he wants them regulated, but he doesn't want the technical ownership put into workers' hands progressively more and more. As far as I know, anyways. I could be wrong. If somebody wants to bring me forth an example, like link me a video where he actually espouses that belief and believes in it and whatnot, I mean, go ahead, put it in my Discord server, but nonetheless. And hello, Jonah Williamson in the chat. Why does TJ look more pathetic than before? Damn fat fingers. Oh, those sausage fingers. Hey, by the way, Jonah, you could be getting into this live stream right now if you really want to possibly be joining on and help me respond to TJ, whatnot. Why did this guy draw lipstick all over his face? I don't know, shouting at clouds. He's trying to be like Tanjiro, says Myth Cuttlefish. Well, She's saying that in response to JC, who said, "Notice those flames on his forehead. Not sure if those are real tattoos or temporary fake ones, but pretty try hard nonetheless." Pretty much. Yeah, join on here if you'd like, JJ. LOL, Bernie bros. Remember when they were grifted by Nico Lol? Says Zachary Colley. Who's Nico Lol? Nico Lol. Who's that? Nico Lol? That was hilarious. Duh, Simps are kings. Of course, she'd say that to pay her to Burr paycheck. Say that to her paycheck, says Zachary. That's what he meant to say. Okay. Anyway.
Like we get a piece of legislation like that, we get the workers to own some of the company, and then it's like you get them more, until eventually the way we structure business in this country is entirely different.
I get the heavy implication that what he wants essentially, like, no, I'm just gonna go off with the assumption for right now that TJ, he wants to start voting in this sort of shit, that he just wants to, the people to democratically vote for the progressive seizure of business to the workers. Okay, boomer girl. Oh, she was the okay boomer girl, says Zachary Colley. Oh, okay, I gotcha. Still no JJ. Still hasn't joined us. I'm just, let's see if I can, give JJ some more time, maybe. Miff Cuttlefish says a lot earlier, people who hate hierarchies are the same people who'd be at the bottom for lack of trying. Oof. Right? Zachary Colley says, I knew there was a reason I don't go to Wolf's Lair. Precisely. You know what? Actually, I should sometime make 2 different NSFW channels in my Discord server. One for the actual enjoyable NSFW stuff, the sexualizing stuff that people would actually enjoy, and then the other one being the actual Lonely Wolves NSFW lair. That would be where all the actual I want to shoot my brains out degeneracy, where that'd be where that go. Okay, here we go. Hey, what's up, JJ? What? Did you post something in the NSFW lair? Is that why you're chuckling?
Maybe.
Let's see this. Because, what? When you forget to... When you forget to flip the pancake. That gives me pleasant flashbacks to, us looking at that one Asian chick that you shared on Twitter one time. When you were all like, look at those areolas. They look like pancakes. They look like fucking pancakes.
Yep. Man, Reddit does actually have a good use for once.
Yeah, you guys probably get the drift of what I am... the GIF rather of what I am looking at right here. It's just some degeneracy from JJ that I cannot really show on stream at all unless I want to get another strike. But nonetheless, yeah, it's funny.
Join the server if you want to see.
Right.
I wouldn't
I don't
recommend
have
you
a
do
link
that,
to it.
but
Sorry,
you can
what?
do that if you want. I wouldn't recommend you do that, but if you want to look at curse shit, I have curse shit that I can provide.
Right. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say this right in the beginning of this live stream, but I'm just gonna say it right now. This live stream has been brought to you by patrons like you. Cat Chat, Mikhail the Stray Cat, and the Conundrum are my current patrons. If you all care to be a donator of the channel and all my other content creation, link for my Patreon page is down below, and I have the benefits for becoming a patron according to the appropriate tiers, a little bit more better ironed out for the incentives to become a patron and whatnot. The first one on the lowest level being an invite to my Discord server. So there's one, and then of course if you're a high dollar patron, you get to do an edited response video of your choice. Anyway. Green Badger Outdoors says, easy to vote in socialism. 9 times out of 10, you have to shoot your way out. And then, of course, you say JJ Pinochet is great for advice on that.
Yep.
Hello, Cast War Fox in the chat. Nice for you to join us. So TJ's being cringe again? Pretty much. Anyway, what do you have to say, JJ? What's your opening commentary on this subject that we are currently on?
I never thought TJ could ever get more pathetic. Honestly, I thought it was a literal impossibility, but as we can see now, clearly it's not.
Well, I think that he was a lot worse in his whole I Love Riots video. Like, that one was just full-on psychotic in my opinion.
No, I'm talking about physically, like,
oh.
Dude is clearly mentally unhinged.
And I do not know if you guys saw it at all, but when he raises his right hand, he's got that one bracelet around his wrist right there, and it looks like a very damn feminine bracelet. Like, holy shit. And you know, there's like this one video by a channel called Uber Soy. I haven't watched this particular video. I have it in my watch later list, but I keep on coming across the title, and it goes asking the question, why is so much of BreadTube trans? And since TJ is like more or less phasing into the BreadTube community, I just gotta ask, is TJ Kirk on his way to becoming trans himself?
He went from mentally ill to even more mentally ill. Yay!
I'm just asking. I'm just saying. Like, I'm not going to say outright that yes, that is definitely what he is doing or whatever. Anyway, Shouting at Cloud says, we're already having to reclaim California. When can we put California back on the U.S. map?
Just give California to Mexico at this point.
Right. Cass Warfox says, careful your disbelief about TJ getting any lower. He might consider that a challenge.
Fair point. I remember when he was, he went through his uber atheist phase.
Right. I mean, the guy is known to be a bit of a contrarian and sort of thrive on that almost. Just a little.
He's like Aaron Ra's inbred cousin.
Right. Yeah, I've not watched a whole lot of that guy, Aaron Ra. Maybe Zachary Colley, you can tell us a little bit about him in the Discord server. But anyway, moving on though.
Now maybe at some point with automation and stuff, work becomes an irrelevant thing. I think that, you know, there's a strong streak of futurism in me, okay? I'm not one of these people that's scared of robots and terrified of technology. I think technology is our friend if it's used right.
I kind of wish that Loudmouth Reviews was on with us right now because he's been getting more and more invested into Dune, or maybe he's always been invested into Frank Herbert's Dune universe and reading into that and whatnot. But also recently, realistically speaking, he's been kind of getting increasingly skeptical of technology as well. He'd probably be able to give a full spiel about that, but if I had to give my own layman's personal opinion about this, I am against like full-on automation. Like, it's fine that, you know, cell phones are made easier access to information and stay in contact with everybody and whatnot. But even then, that seems to almost have a degenerative effect a little bit as well. People being able to access social media a whole lot easier and gaining themselves a little bit more and more of a toxic personality than they would have if they didn't have social media. But nonetheless, what I have a bigger issue with is automation in the workforce. And just me personally, I prefer to have a human waiter or waitress when I like go to a restaurant. I prefer that personable, touch with humans. I mean, I know that TJ just basically said earlier that he hates that personable touch, that he hates people and so forth. So he likes robots on that effect, but yeah. And also it just serves as another point of degeneracy of the human ability. Like, if we start relying more and more on robots for our labor, for even the most menial of things, then that's going to really devolve our own survival skills. Just me, like, asserting that as a bit of a layman. But what do you have to say, JJ?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I believe that, of course, technology is our friend to an extent, but obviously we need to have analog backups, and be prepared for in case these things break down or we actually need them.
Mm-hmm. You want your server to touch you? LOL, says Red Feather. Wait, what? When I said personable touch, I gotcha. No, I just want the service itself to have that personable touch, but sure, maybe if the waitress is hot enough, yeah, I can go for some
I
touch.
mean, there is a certain restaurant that has voluptuous women that could possibly do that in the eventual future.
Hooters, Twin Peaks.
Yep.
Right. Except Hooters is going progressively out of business. Twin Peaks is where it's more at nowadays. You sound like Tucker Carlson being anti-automotive and all, says Scorch.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not like Tucker Carlson in that I want to impose regulation on that front. Like, I don't want to impose any sort of government action to ban technology. I'm not going to be like Frank Herbert and let's have a Butlerian jihad and overthrow all machineries. Like, cell phone, you go in the trash now. But no, I'm not like that at all. I do like technology. Like, it helps me get some of my thoughts in. Like, I wouldn't have access to as much media and literature without technology, personally. It'd be a little bit harder to find, but nonetheless, I'm just giving my own personal opinion if labor is automated. Zachary Collins says, what's there to say about Aaron Ra? He's just fundy atheism incarnate. Any remark that is typical of atheists to make, he employs it and projects his own fundy behavior. You ain't missing a thing. I gotcha. Wait, what? Red Feather says, I thought Hooters was a family place. And Zachary Collins says, since when? Yeah, Red Feather, since when? I mean, okay. Anyway, JJ seems to be AFK here for a little bit. Might just check out the chat here to give him a little bit more time.
And this is why I like analog backups. Gosh damn it.
Red Feather says, DarkCon wants your thumbs. Don't disappoint him. Yes. As was put forth a few episodes ago, I like thumbs. I have a little bit of a collection for them, if you know what I mean. No. Joking.
Better than feet.
Give me your thumbs. I have thumb necklaces and thumb ornaments. I don't know.
Psychopath. Freaking psychopath up in this bitch.
I don't know. I'm not going to try to pull a vegan games persona or whatever. Anyway. Oh,
this is my vegan body.
Red Feather says that's what I've been told. Honestly, I've never been to a Hooters. Okay.
Honestly, I haven't either, but even I know that's not a family restaurant.
Myth Cullfish says Hooters is garbage. Nah, they're not garbage. I've had their food before. They're decent.
It depends on the place, mostly.
They're not as handcrafted and handmade as Twin Peaks food, but nonetheless, and I find the girls to be a little bit better looking than Twin Peaks. Just in my experience, the girls at Hooters are a little bit more fit than the girls at Twin Peaks. Oh no, I am. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word? Damn it. I'm sexualizing women. That's not exactly what I wanted to say, but nonetheless, let's just get on with it.
Women don't need help with sexualizing themselves nowadays.
Right? Swerfs.
Yup.
Technology is just like a gun or a knife or anything. You can use that knife to slice your steak, or you can use it to cut your neighbor's throat. You can use that gun to shoot at a target, or to have a little fun, blow off a little steam,
or defend yourself from a criminal, or even a tyrannical government.
or you can use it to murder people. So every tool has good and bad purposes, and I think automation and like Alexas and stuff like that, and these machines that collect data, like all of this stuff could be used for good. It's just not. It's used for evil because it's in the hands of some super rich, evil tycoon people like Jeff Bezos, who we all know is freaking Lex Luthor. Can we just call him Lex Luthor?
He is right.
Right, they call him Lex Luthor. Yeah, he's right, but at the same time, do we really trust the machines themselves to run themselves? With the advancement of artificial intelligence and them being able to directly hook themselves up into the Wi-Fi and all that other stuff.
Skynet.
Yeah, well, something along those lines. I don't want to get that super pessimistic to where that we are going to have robots literally nuking all of humanity and building robots to extinguish the rest of humanity. But nonetheless, it seems to still be a dangerous precedent either way, be it humans are running the technology or the technology is running itself. I mean, I remember like Smiley P quite a few episodes ago actually, putting forth the idea that in his society they would have an artificial intelligence in his ideal society. This is him going into sort of fantasy world, no offense to him, but in his ideal world, his ideal ANCOM society, there would be artificial intelligence to say that if you're like acting in a too upsetting of a manner, you're too angry, you're too mentally unhinged, there would be an AI that would be able to collect all this information and be able to tell you that, hey, you need to go to a psychiatric ward. And I was just thinking to myself, what? So an AI that would be able to spy on us consistently and see of how we are acting in regular day-to-day life. No, fuck that.
So essentially the Patriot Act on steroids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, precisely. It's bad enough that the NSA, that actual people are doing it, but if you have machines doing it, well, I am not trying to be explicit here, y'all, but it's a little bit harder to handle them than as opposed to actual humans, because the machines, the programming would be able to transfer themselves from device to device, and you'd have that same intelligence that still withholds that information within their memory banks or whatever, just basically making themselves completely untouchable as compared to an actual human.
Yep.
He's Lex Luthor, okay? He's not Jeff Bezos, he's Lex Luthor. He's come to our dimension because he knows there's no Superman here, and he's gonna take over. So we can't let him do it. We gotta take all...
Is it Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Elon Musk?
I mean, I agree with him to an extent because I don't like corporations because they're fucked. But at the same time, taking everything, yeah, that's just going to cause more issues.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Just let their companies die.
Not Red Feather. JC Armitage in the chat says, an AI wouldn't be able to negate the ECP since it couldn't predict every single person's ever-changing desires. Thus, any attempt at creating a Venus project would be doomed to fail.
Fair point.
I guess JC Armitage is like responding to my talking point. Like I'm going to admit I'm not fully educated on the dangers of artificial intelligence, but maybe I have to go actually reading into it. I just go hearing about the precedents that everybody else goes saying, and they seem like very, very fair assertions. But anyway, I guess there's a more sophisticated response to those assertions that JC is presenting here. Anyway.
Gotta take his money away.
By the way, what's the ECP? What do you mean by negate the ECP, JC Armitage? What's ECP stand for?
You know, he can have his little thing like, hey, thanks for making this Amazon stuff. Here's your little, you get $10 million and that's what you do. And then the rest of it, we're spreading around to all these other people. I'm basically in that boat. And we're going to use this technology for good and all that stuff. And it's going to be wonderful, and it's going to be a utopia, and it's going to be brilliant and visionary. Now, do I think that's what's actually going to happen? No, I think that these powers are going to, as they get this technology, they're just going to use it more and more to entrench their power deep.
I was laughing mostly at the whole thing of him saying it'd be utopia.
Dear God, TJ, Dude, do you not understand that most of his money is in stocks?
That a lot of the money is in stocks.
Yeah, most of Bezos's money, along with the big like corporations, most of their money are in the stocks.
You know what?
So you'd have to sell off the stocks, and of course that would take away jobs. You'd get a much smaller payload compared to what it's actually worth, and yeah, it's just doomed to fail.
You know what? That's a fair point. This actually makes me go remembering a point that was brought up by Actual Justice Warrior in one of his videos. Excuse me. But in one of his videos, he goes talking about Jeff Bezos and how his salary is actually something around $80,000 a year. The rest of the money that he gets it from other investments outside of Amazon. But his Amazon salary is something around $80,000. So the fact that you would be taking like all but 10 million of his dollars, a lot of that money is not purely just from Amazon. So it seems to be like you're not exactly taking a principled stance here, TJ, when you say that the basis as to why that you're taking all this money is because he's made it all off of Amazon. And that is simply not true. He hasn't made it all off of Amazon. By your own theory of how, we need worker co-ops. We need to spread the means of production. Not all of his money is from the means of production of Amazon. Some of it is from things outside of Amazon, and that would not technically fall under means of production, I guess you could say. So thanks for that point, JJ.
And also, when you try to sell stocks and en masse, the stocks will plummet, so of course, a much lower payload than what you'd actually get.
Right.
Like, say you have $2 billion in stocks and you attempt to sell it all, you may get 10 million.
Right. Red Feather says that's a modest salary for Bezos, if that's true. Well, I don't know exactly what it was. AJW might have said 60,000 instead. I don't know. Like,
I'd say it's probably like 100,000, maybe 200,000 at the smallest.
Right. But I just got a curious question. Do you watch any Actual Justice Warrior, and what do you think of him?
Me?
Yeah, JJ.
I've seen a couple of his videos, but I don't particularly like the guy personally.
Okay. I mean, I do have some issues with him being a little bit too much of a suck up to no BS and atheism is unstoppable, but that's not really a big issue. I listen to him mostly because he's legitimately smart when it comes to issues. I just grant the benefit of the doubt that he's ignorant about all the AIU stuff, and he thinks all of no bullshit stuff is, he just.
He thinks he's credible.
I don't think he thinks that he's like fully credible. I don't know. So somebody would have to ask AJW what is his full opinion on no BS, but I guess it is in the grand scheme of things a nothing issue, his opinions on that. At least he's fighting the good fight against communists and leftists.
That is a true point.
If you take away people's ability to maximize their income, then they will work less. This is basic economics. This is countless Bathory, right? Anyway.
And deeper, they're going to push human beings out of the equation, just let people starve. Then when the revolt happens, they'll all go fly to New Zealand and hide in their bunkers while, then they'll think it's going to be like this Atlas Shrugged thing where society collapses without their genius and stuff, but probably we're going to get better off without them, and then when they come back, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube. In Minecraft, whatever. I'm going to edit that part out. Whatever. It's all...
No bullshit is nothing burger at this point, says Myth Cuttlefish. Fair point. He's just mostly a useful foil for whenever I'm like bored. Like, you remember the response that me and some other co-hosts did against him when it came to the movie Onward, JJ? I don't know if you saw any of that.
I didn't, but I'll be sure to look at it after the stream.
It's I have some of the highlights on my Best of 2020 compilation in the later portions if you kind of fast forward a bit. Or you can watch the full stream of where that me, Loudmouth, and some others go responding to him on my secondary channel, DarkCon Entertainment. Anyway.
All right.
All good. It's all wonderful. It's all happy. Everyone's just going to be smiley and good. But, look, there's paths forward that are good paths. and there's paths forward that are bad paths. And right now, the people who are in control want us to go down those bad paths. They want to go down the paths that further and further their power and diminish our power more and more and more and more. So now is the time to act. Now is the time to step up to them. And, well, I mean, really the time was a while ago, but, the best time was then, the second best time is now, so we got to do it. You want any sort of future for yourself, for your offspring, for whatever you might have, whatever investment you might have in this world. If you want a future for that, then you got to stand up now.
I love riots. My only complaint about these riots is that they're too damn small, too damn isolated, too damn short-lived. I'm getting flashbacks to that point, to that talking point at this point. Like, have you seen my response video to TJ when it came to the riots?
Yep, I did, and quite frankly, I would rather drink battery acid than listen to what he had to say again about that.
Right. I think that was the thing that Sitch and Adam were thinking as well, because they originally had that lined up on their docket to respond to, but then they were all like, we aren't going to bother. Instead, we're going to respond to Markiplier, which that video was pretty fucking boring to watch, and their response to him was kind of boring as well. But nonetheless, I made an entertaining response to it nonetheless. That became rather successful, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's not going to be a future. Not for you, not for yours. Unless you're Jeff Bezos watching this. I know you're watching, Jeff.
1 second. Myth Girlfish says, TJ is wearing fucking eyeshadow and it's pissing me off! Word salad, yum. Only thing missing is the banana dressing, cause he crazy, says Zachary Colley.
I think TJ's name... What is TJ short for? Tristan James?
I don't know. Maybe? Could be, Thomas?
So her name is now Tisha Joanna.
Yeah, I can't believe I used to watch TJ. Oh my gosh, he is so dumb, says Countless Bathory. Yep. What was I gonna... man, you missed an inspirational convo on Hooters above, says Zachary Colley. Well, sorry, but I cannot pay full attention to the live chat all the time.
Yada yada yada, big boobs, big butts. That's basically Hooters.
Right.
I know who you are. I know who you are. And you know what? We're sending out a distress call to Superman. We're sending out a distress call to Kal-El! Kal-El, if you can hear this, please!
It's pronounced Kal-El. What's with the pronunciation of Kal-El? Are we in the UK now? Oi, mate. No. Okay, I butchered that up. I went from British to Australian.
Once you've seen that porn tape that he released a while back, you lose all sense of even worrying about him at this point. Dude's literally unhinged.
I've seen some pictures. I haven't seen it. I don't even go anywhere near the video. But
I saw the video and I immediately cried myself to sleep. I'm not even joking. It was that bad.
Oh jeez, that is pretty terrible. But yeah, didn't he pour gravy on himself?
I think something along those lines.
Oh, you got a license for that accent, mate, says Zachary Colley.
Bad teeth. At least we don't have school shootings. No, but you got stabbings, acid attacks, terrorist attacks, and you can't even own a knife.
Right.
Without the police coming to take it away. Good job!
Come on.
Lex Luthor is here! He's in our dimension! Someone, transmit it. Transmit it on all frequencies. Dick, the boss, Lady Coughlin. Hey, TJ. About 11 years ago, you and I had a very nasty YouTube drama from which neither of us came out looking good. I don't know what you're talking about. I always look good. I just like to say no hard feelings.
Okay, this is...
You're full of shit, mate.
Precisely. Like the whole, whole porn incident, for example.
Oh, dear God, yeah. It was like a plucked turkey having sex.
But nonetheless, I think that's all that we're gonna do on this video. We went far enough. I thought he was gonna go on about the about workers, or excuse me, about the average Joe being allowed to not work if they want to. But I think that might be the other video that I actually have in store to respond to TJ on. But we're gonna save that for next episode of Strike Force. He goes in the first half of that go on talking about Disney princesses. He decided to take a question about what's his favorite Disney princess, which, okay. We're of course gonna ignore that part when we come next episode of Strike Force. But he goes asking, or somebody goes asking the question to him, what is freedom? And I think that might be the one of where that he goes talking about how people should be allowed to not work if they really don't want to. I thought it was this video, but no.
I agree. They just shouldn't get government assistance or any money.
Right? Oh, yes. A fair way of framing it, JJ. Oh my gosh, I sound like a psychopath now. I want to go full fascisti on them and literally have them, under the chain and whip and at gunpoint to be forced to work. They don't even have the choice to be a lazy bum and, just fuck off of society.
Yeah.
Anyway, wasting time. His shitmate is definitely in him. Wait. Redfeather says, stop policing other people's bananas. Full of shit, mate. The Night Watchman says, got a license for that banana, TJ? And Jonah Williamson, you JJ, say, his shitmate is definitely in him now. Miff Goldfish says, see? He's transitioning.
Transitioning from crazy to even crazier.
Right? But anyway, on to the next subject. This is actually by special request of Wes Savage, aka the Derpy Redneck, on my Discord server. And, yeah, a bit of an important subject to go on about. This is a little bit old. This is back in April the 22nd of April of this year. The Biden administration will pay farmers more money not to farm. Just going off of the surface, this is a very bad idea. I mean, it's bad enough that we have inflation about to hit us, but you're also going to have supply and demand, or lack of supply, hit us even harder as far as the prices of food goes. If you're going to be successfully getting this through, Biden, like, what the fuck? It's just exacerbating things. I mean, it's one thing for Trump to give subsidies for farmers to keep on working because of ironically damaging them with his original tariffs. But it's an entirely different thing for you to be essentially paying farmers not to work just in general. Anyway, the goal is to add 4 million acres of farmland to the Conservation Reserve Program, which takes land out of production to blunt agriculture's environmental impact. The Biden administration announced on Wednesday that it would expand a program that pays farmers to leave land fallow, part of a broader government-wide effort to cut greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030. The new initiative will incentivize farmers to take land out of production by raising rental rates and incentivized payments. Oh my gosh. Instead of doing this, instead of buying the land off of farmers, if you are going to be spending this government money, if you want to take it this route, you're afraid of greenhouse gases and the environment and whatnot, a better way to spend this government money is to invest in vertical farming. Have farms and other sorts of stuff that go upward instead of outward, so that you take up less land and save up more land for forests to suck in all that CO2 and produce more oxygen and whatnot. Don't go forcing people out of their jobs and thus also exacerbating supply and demand in the food market. Anyway, the Conservation Reserve Program was created in 1985 to incentivize landowners to leave some of their marginal land unplanted, a plan meant to protect the environment by reducing agricultural runoff into streams and rivers, preserving wildlife habitats, and preserving erosion. Today, the Department of Agriculture rents about 21 million acres of farmland from landowners, typically for 10 years at a time, a tiny fraction of the total land farmed nationwide. A tiny fraction, eh? I mean, of what kind of crop are we talking about? You talking about like purchasing off of farmers?
Well, J.C. Armitage said, not to sound conspiratorial, but I think the state is trying to manufacture a food shortage, try to blame it on the quote-unquote free market, and nationalize the food industry.
Oh boy.
I actually kind of agree with that. I think they are trying to do that.
Bread lines in every city, y'all. Bread lines around every street corner.
And people dying of hunger.
And you'll have to show your papers to the police that you got vaccine and all that other stuff. But I don't know. That's, again, rather out there, and I don't know that for certain. But just to be talking about possibilities here, people. That's all. So don't take me down, YouTube, for conspiracies and whatnot. I'm not stating it as fact. I'm just saying, for the sake of
He's saying it's a possibility,
conversation.
not that it's objective fact.
Precisely. In recent years, the number of acres enrolled in CRP has fallen, possibly because USDA's rental payments have not been competitive with the open market. Chuck Abbott reported for Fern News. The new announcement is a bid to incentivize farmers to enroll 4 million more acres of land in the program to total 25 million acres. The current program limit, current program limit, period. Sometimes the best solutions are right in front of you, said Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack in a press release. A huge amount, we're brainstorming here, Susan, says Red Feather, right? A huge amount of money was essentially paid and then lost when those acres go back into farming. All told, the increased rental rates and expanded incentive payments, which pay farmers extra for growing buffer strips and promoting wildlife habitats, will increase CRP spending by about 18%, totaling $300 million or more in annual spending. Overall, we think the changes are good, but also they could still be better, said Ann Schlesinger, senior economic analyst with the Environmental Working Group. CRP typically only takes land out of production for 10 years at a time, and many farmers opt not to renew after a decade. Well, I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because they are tired of the government bureaucracy getting in their way, making things into a fucking headache. Like, my family has been working on this farm for the last 2-3 generations. And now you're going to have us move to a completely different farm that we are like, or you expect us to move to a completely different farm of our own volition that we are totally unfamiliar with? Yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm just going to go ahead and take a manufacturing job or a job in the oil industry or something else like that. I mean, don't go discouraging farmers from farming. That's what you're doing here. You're discouraging them from farming and just aggravating supply and demand in the food market, like I said. Many of the environmental benefits are erased as soon as the soil is plowed under and crops are replanted. Schlesinger published a report that found almost 16 million acres were taken out of the reserve between 2007 and 2014 after landowners opted not to re-rent them to USDA. The government had spent more than $7 billion to preserve those acres. A huge amount of money was essentially paid and then lost when those acres go back into farming. Wait, let me reread that. A huge amount of money was essentially paid and then lost when those acres go back into farming. My
eyes cannot roll any harder.
Well, why take the money out? Why take the farmland in the first place? I mean, you would not have that problem at all if you did not, like, force these people. Well, I don't know. I'm not reading any sort of technical mandate that farmers are to no longer work, but
it's just jibber jabber at this point.
I mean, assuming that there is a mandate, though, you would not have this problem in the first place if you did not try to incentivize these farmers to stop farming in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but by Wes's description of when that he suggested this article to me, he said to me that the message that I should help spread out there to farmers everywhere is don't take these subsidies. Do not stop farming. That's the message he wants to transmit, and that kind of implies to me that maybe it's not technically mandatory, but it's just a heavy incentive that the government is doing. And we know of how underhanded that government incentives to people can be. If you don't take this incentive, if you don't take this offer, well then we'll find other methods. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
We
Wink,
know
wink,
this from
nudge, nudge.
personal experience.
Right. I know I sound like a conspiracy nut, but it's weird how the mainstream media is promoting eating bugs, says Countless Bathory. You know what? Now that I think about it, Burger Craig actually made a video talking about eating bugs. You know what? Now that these two issues are starting to connect to each other, I think I ought to actually look at that video and see if that's another piece of response material for the show here. Another video by Burger Craig to respond to. And you all know of how that I've been just finding more and more material to respond to Burger Craig on. Anyway.
Suck it, Susan. We're 100% correct.
I think he's just trying to follow Stalin's storyline. I do agree with you on that one, says Rusty the Fox Coon. Hello, Rusty, by the way. And you know what? This does kind of reminisce a little bit too much of Stalin's Holodomor situation. If none of y'all looked into the Holodomor was a government-induced famine that happened in Ukraine, essentially. I think
and
Stalin,
it killed a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, at least millions, if not 10 million, something like that.
I think it was tens of million.
Well, I don't know of how many tens of millions, because I know that I think it's 20 million, maybe 30 million. I would have to look back at the numbers again of the people. You're gonna look it up?
I'm gonna look up the death. Yeah, I'm looking up the death toll.
Yeah, look at the death toll of the Holodomor and the total death toll of Stalin too, for that matter, because I think, if I remember correctly, it is Mao 60 million, Stalin 20, maybe 30 million, and Hitler 10 million.
Stalin is 100% worse than Hitler was, and Hitler was a bad dude.
Rusty the Fox Coon says, and you know it by name. You are well read, I must say. Well, thanks, Rusty, but that's wrong. I am not that well read of a person, but I appreciate the flattery nonetheless.
Early estimates of the death toll by scholars and government officials vary. According to higher estimates, up to 12 million ethnic Ukrainians were said to have perished. UN statement said 25 countries in 2000 declared 7 to 10 million, 3.3 to 7.5 million in Kiev, 10 million, 3.9 million, and 6.1 million in birth defects.
Rusty says 3.5 million. Are you sure that it's that low as far as the death toll goes, Rusty?
The Wikipedia says it's around 3.5 million, but I think the 10 million is probably more accurate.
You kidding? I just say 80% wouldn't know the name. Just that something like it happened, says Rusty. Well, all right, thanks. Well, then maybe that's if I go dating, that's something that I'll be able to tell my girlfriend. Hey, do you know that there was a famine in Ukraine that happened under Stalin's reign called the Holodomor? Maybe you're like, oh, I know a lot of people died under Stalin, but I did not know of what these specific events were called. Yeah, it's called the Holodomor. But anyway, back on subject though. Yeah, this is reminiscing a whole lot of Stalin's Holodomor. Maybe not as hard-lined or iron-fisted as Stalin, because I'm pretty sure that Stalin was mandating that the kulaks were to give up. Kulak, that's another term that I'm remembering right now, Rusty. The kulaks, who were the Ukrainian farmers, I think that's what they were called, was the kulaks, what they were. He was mandating that they give up their land, not just incentivizing and offering money for their land, mandating it. Anyway, asked about this issue in a press call on Thursday, Vilsack was vague. The key here is to make sure that we continue to have a commitment to CRP as one strategy, one of many strategies, he said. An acre here may change, but there may be additional acres over there that weren't in a program that are in a program. Over time, you make significant improvement toward a net zero future. I think they're referring to the whole environmental impact thing. And net zero, that's a pipe dream in my honest opinion. Like, what are you gonna try to do? Are you gonna have us, the United States, try to suck back up all that excess CO2 that other nations are putting out so as to put us to net zero around the world? Or I guess they're advocating for a one world government too. That might be a possibility as well, but nonetheless. Hello, Night Shift in the live chat. He says the kulaks were wealthy Ukrainian farmers and the state wanted to force them to turn over their crops and livestock, so they ended up destroying the majority of it, and yes, it was justified. Wait, what? The kulaks were wealthy Ukrainian farmers and the state wanted to force them to turn over their crops and livestock, so they ended up destroying the majority of it, and yes, it was justified.
It was retaliation. The kulaks retaliated towards the Soviet Union and destroyed the crops and livestock so that the Soviets couldn't have it.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying, Night Shift. So, what I said still remains true, but there's some extra context apparently. And yes, it was justified. Okay, Red Feather is asking justified how. Night Shift, I take it that when you say and it was justified, you're talking about the kulaks destroyed most of it rather than turn it over to them without compensation.
Yep.
Yes, thanks for clarifying to Red Feather Night Shift. He's referring to the actions on the kulaks' part after hearing the offer being made to them, Red Feather. He's not referring to the Soviets being justified in their actions. But nonetheless, it's still true that Stalin wanted to take away this land, but for extra context, the kulaks that ended up destroying their own property before that they could do it. Yes.
As for Stalin's death toll, this is within the Soviet border. It's between 7.2 and 9.5 million people killed. As for outside, it's probably way more, but this is just within the Soviet Union's borders.
Anyway, so far there's been little motion from Vilsack's office and the Democrat-controlled Congress on mandatory regulations designed to mitigate agriculture's environmental impact. To be clear, conservation is still a good thing, even if it only lasts for 10 years, Schlesinger said. But from a climate perspective, plowing up land that has lain fallow for a decade will release a lot of the carbon that was sequestered in the soil. She'd like to see an expansion of the Clear 30 pilot program, which rents land for 30 years at a time. 30 years at a time? Fuck that.
Wow. Yeah, fucking wow.
And requires farmers to implement water-friendly conservation measures. Other measures like slightly higher payments for acreage that has been kept out production for one 10-year cycle could further incentivize long-term conservation. To date, the Biden administration has focused on voluntary incentives-based programs like CRP to address climate change and the environment in the farming sector. I still don't like the massive spending being done here. Nonetheless, the counter.org. I think the counter here is actually leaning sort of leftward, almost in favor of this, or maybe they're trying to be as nonpartisan, as unbiased as possible. I don't know. I get sort of the feeling of a leftward bent here, just a little bit. But nonetheless, never mind. I don't like the fact that they are spending the money nonetheless, but what's going to happen after that? If farmers were to refuse to take the money and refuse to give up the land, what then? Just asking the question.
They'll make them disappear. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Myth Cuttlefish says the government acts as if the farmers know less about land than they do. Precisely. Nightshift 10,000 says, I hear a lot from commies that Stalin did nothing wrong and the kulaks deserved it. I flipped that on them. The kulaks did nothing wrong. Stalin deserved it. Yep. Boo, Stalin. Fuck you. Other Democrats have favored a less business-friendly approach. Senator Cory Booker introduced a moratorium on the on the construction of new concentrated animal feeding operations in 2019, which emit the potent greenhouse gas methane, and Senator Bernie Sanders championed broader enforcement of the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts during his presidential campaign. So far, there's been little motion from Vilsack's office and the Democrat-controlled Congress on mandatory regulations designed to mitigate agriculture's environmental impact. Well, you already got people apparently advocating for mandatory regulations. Yep, leftward bent right here. Thanks for setting up the precedent already, Biden. You're just setting up the precedent for the next people in charge to be all like, no, it isn't enough that we just incentivize these farmers to give up their land. We have to mandate it, or mandate regulations at least. I really think regulations are the only way we're going to accomplish anything, Schlesinger said. We can keep doing some voluntary. CRP is good. Retiring land is a great thing, but it's not going to be enough to get us where we need to be with mitigating climate change. End of article. Might I just say garbage opinion right here. Like, I'm not going to be some climate change denier, quote unquote, or whatever, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not bad enough to where that we need to hurt our own food supply in this sort of manner. And not to mention put our money, put our dollar through even more inflation by printing all this money to incentivize farmers to get out of, you know, the one thing that makes food. Anyway, so on to the next story. This is from a website called djhjmedia.com. And this live stream, by the way, has been going on for 1.5 hours. I might just end it right after this article right here, actually, because you got other stuff.
I think I heard about this one.
What?
I think I heard about this, you know, quote unquote shooting.
Yeah, I shared it in the Discord server for one. Don't know if that's where you heard it from or whatever, but
I think I heard it from there and multiple other places.
But this is a little bit old. Well, actually, no. June 5th, 2021. So it's not that old. It's only like approaching about a month old. But it's still like a very poignant example that needs to be put out as far as the ridiculousness of the left goes. Police shoot felon who fired on them, and the rioters go shopping and setting fires. The message we seem to be getting from BLM is that you cannot shoot a black man for any reason, including self-defense. Ma'Khia Bryant.
George Floyd.
What?
All right, he was. Never mind.
Yeah, that's not exactly the staple example. I mean, you could like mention Jacob Blake. Maybe that would be a little bit more.
Oh yeah, that was the name that I was trying to say. Jacob Blake.
Yeah, George Floyd. As much as flawed as people like to say his background was, and as much
he didn't deserve it. Yeah.
As much as people like to say that the main reason why he was dying was because of drug overdose, the police did not help by aggravating the circumstance by pressing a knee on his neck. Let's be honest. Was that really even freaking necessary?
Absolutely not. The dude was already dying from the drugs.
Mm-hmm. He was already pretty much crippled as it already was. Police are expected... sorry, what?
I was about to say he also looked like Bubble Bass from SpongeBob. I'm sorry. I saw... I compared the two visions in my head, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's Bubble Bass.
Bubble Bass. Okay, 1 second. I gotta search this up.
I'm going to hell for this one.
Oh no! Oh no!
George Floyd is Bubble Bass on drugs.
God. Wow, we've reached some 4chan levels here, y'all. Thanks a lot, JJ. YouTube, please don't strike me. Nobody is calling for hate or death upon black people or George Floyd.
No, I believe his death was 100% unjustified, but I'm sorry, it was too good.
Yeah,
it was
nobody's
too good.
nobody's glorifying his death either. YouTube, I mean, come on, can we lighten up at some point? I mean, let's be honest. It has been over a year. It's been plenty enough time. Can we start implementing the dark humor when it comes to George Floyd now, or is it still too early, BLM and everyone else? But nonetheless,
It's always too early. He was a hero.
Jeez. Anyway, enough of JJ's racism. The police are expected to take a hit for the team and then hope they survive. Kinda. BLM is not an organization to let a good shooting go to waste. They rush out and stop and shop at their favorite stores when they are closed before burning them to the ground. On Thursday, the police tried to arrest 32-year-old Winston Boogie Smith. Boogie?
Boogie 2988.
Wow, that is...
That is unfortunate.
Right, that is... Boogie Wonderland. Get some earth, wind, and fire in this house. A wanted felon with a rap sheet about as long as the Mississippi River. He pulled out a gun and fired at the officers, who responded by firing back and killing Smith. On Friday night, BLM went wild, looting stores and then burning them. You have to wonder whether BLM decides to riot on the merits of the shooting or whether they need a new stereo or big screen TV. Like, okay, I got on pointing out as to how the last article was a little bit biased towards the left. In all fairness, this article seems to be a little bit biased towards the right. Liquor store.
I mean, they're mostly right, but at the same time, it is biased.
Yeah. It looks like that this video does not go showing the actual shooting. It just goes showing the riots that happened afterwards. But nonetheless, so they might be leaving some things out of context, possibly. I'm not going to completely rule that out. But if you, nonetheless, if you still had, like, the one guy and the police, like, shooting each other, I mean, isn't it best to at least do a little bit more investigating into the story before you go all, I'm not going to say that word, before going all, psychotic on the rest of the town by rioting and whatnot? I mean, let's be fair.
BLM only has one brain cell, so when it hits that corner, they're just like, "Ooh, black man dead. Let's protest and riot."
Right. Pretty much.
Obviously, BLM doesn't represent all black people, and black people overall aren't stupid. I have to make that clarification, or I'm gonna be called a frickin' racist, even though I'm clearly not.
How dare you be talking about brain cells? You might as well be talking about IQ, you alt-right fascist.
Sieg Heil.
Oh boy. Now I'm getting a strike.
Hans, get the Flammenwerfer.
No. Blitzkrieg. The rioters are going all Blitzkrieg on the town.
That's actually pretty fitting.
Yes. Even if the police were like completely unjustified in the shooting, that I would still be against the riots nonetheless. But anyway, moving on. The Marshals Service put out a statement saying that Smith was in his car when police approached him to put him under arrest for previous crimes. Smith produced a pistol and fired at least one shot. At that point, the two deputies opened fire, killing Smith. BLM will insist they be prosecuted for murder, but I think neither one will face any court action.
As much as I don't like cops, they did nothing wrong.
Right. The story specifically, you mean?
Yes.
The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension reported that investigators found a gun and a spent cartridge in the car, backing up the stories of the deputies. If you want more riots, more looted buildings, more fires, and more assaults, keep voting for Democrats who give BLM and Antifa cover. Yep, definitely showing a little bit of that right-wing bias, but all the same, still seems like a fairly solid narrative right here. I mean, the gun is at least, the evidence of there being a gun is at least being produced, or provided rather, a lot sooner than the gun that was related to the Jacob Blake shooting. So, and yet you're still going to go all, I'm just gonna say it, gonna go all ape shit on the town. And no, that's not me calling black people apes. Do not take that out of context, motherfuckers. Following the shooting on Thursday, rioters marched in the streets, set fires, and began vandalizing and looting businesses, the AP reported. Police arrested 9 people on charges following the night of violent activity. Independent journalist Brendan Gutenschwager tweeted a video showing multiple fires set by rioters on Friday night. And
Yikes.
they were actually citing Breitbart News there, so that kind of raises a little bit of a red flag in my head, but anyway.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's a man.
Oh, what? Oh.
I'm sorry, I had to point it out. Michelle, fuck you. You ruined my school lunches, you bitch.
The way to American health is to drink more water. It's in your tap. It's in your faucet. Go ahead, try it yourself.
That frickin' commercial made me want to drink bleach rather than water.
Right. Thick smoke in the air as dumpsters burned at Hennepin and Lake Street in Minneapolis this Friday night. It was mildly...
What is it with lighting dumpsters on fire, though?
I don't know.
Why are they always around?
They like the smell of mold and plastic on fire, apparently.
I mean, that's pretty fitting for BLM.
Oh,
Stupid
God.
people usually have a stinky smell.
Or they got it from a stinky smell. I mean, let's not forget of what burning plastic does to your brain, y'all. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass.
Smelling plastic.
Sniffing that leaded paint. Oh shit. I just realized the reference that I just did to the AJW versus Vosh debate, in which they were going on about leaded paint in regards of race and crime stats and whatnot. I was just seeing if there was anything that was interesting in the chat. Sorry that I'm going to be passing over most of you guys' live chat comments, but as the channel gets bigger and the live chats get bigger, I'm going to end up being forced to surpass the live chat, or else have the stream go on for like 10 hours. It was mildly entertaining watching this guy struggle to move a garbage can as the reforming crowd worked on blockading the intersection. Hold on, let's check this out for a second. Don't know if you guys can see it that well.
Hi, Scooter Man.
What the heck? Wow. Get to the gym more.
Are those trash cans that heavy, or are they just that weak?
Okay, the guy on the actually they look kind of skinny. Oh, okay, that's the guy that they're primarily referring to.
Frickin' string bean. Dude, I'm a freaking fat ass and I could probably at least push it over quite a bit.
Look at this. Okay. Look at this. I mean, BLM was first blocking streets with their own selves, but now they are blocking the streets with fucking trash cans, y'all. They're stepping up their game a bit, apparently. Well, at least nobody can charge anybody with murder for running through the blockade.
Garbage cans.
Yeah, but at least nobody can be charged with murder for trying to run through the blockade if the blockade in this case is a whole bunch of trash cans instead of people,
Oh yeah, some of them are bolted down. That makes sense.
Red Feather says Antifa-proof garbage cans. Love it. Right. Myth Goldfish says some trash cans are bolted down in the city. No idea why. Okay, I guess that's a possibility. Police left and now the fires. Police left and now the fires are being set. Dumpster fire.
I mean,
Look, everybody! It's the mascot of 2020.
It's the mascot of Joe Biden.
Oh, right. I guess it beats beating up said trash cans. Asks JC Armitage. I don't know. We have picnic tables bolted down at parks too, says Red Feather. I see. Alright, rioters protesting the shooting of the wanted felon who allegedly fired at agents attempting to arrest him began looting at a T-Mobile store, Brannon tweeted. Brannon? Who's the
Was your mom
Brannon
sniffing
guy?
paint when naming you?
Because I saw Andy. I see Andy No right here, but no Brannon. Unless Brannon is Rebecca Brannon. That's who they're referring to as the first tweet that was up here.
Oh, it's a last name. Never mind. I thought it was a first name.
Anyway, I don't know of how much of this footage that it's safe for me to play because I remember that my original upload of the Floyd riots that got struck down. Luckily, my channel did not suffer a strike, but it still got taken down because I was apparently showing blood from somebody else getting beaten up. Had to edit that out and do a re-upload.
Well, the only blood we potentially saw was from a white dude that couldn't pick up a trash can.
Another video retweeted by Brandon shows someone performing CPR on a person who was allegedly shot during the riots. Okay, yeah, I definitely know that I cannot show that.
Yeah,
otherwise
we're not
get
going to point
struck.
at that. Nope.
All right. So that's it with that article. It just goes to show the ridiculousness. Well, actually, let me see. Winston Boogie Smith. I'm just gonna like search this up very quickly. Let me see. New York Post. Winston Boogie Smith fired gun at cops before he was killed. Okay, so if this is being admitted by the New York Post, well then it must be true. Woman never saw a gun on man fatally shot in Minneapolis. That's from NBC News, and I have to say, NBC, I don't trust you as much. There could still be other people who saw it outside of that woman. Gun evidence detailed.
It's one thing just to have the gun on you, and having a gun on you doesn't mean you deserve to be shot. But when you blatantly try to shoot at someone else, yeah, all bets are off. You deserve to be shot if you're trying to hurt someone else.
So yeah, this is it's ridiculous. Okay. I think we can pretty much for right now at least Myth Cuttlefish is in chat, so it's not a who shot first case. I don't know of a who shot first, and I do not know the exact details of it.
Boogie shot first, so you don't have to guess who shot first.
Right.
I think that's what she's referring to.
Okay. Fired gun at cops before he was killed. I mean, at best, as far as BLM's own narrative and cause goes, they should have at least been slow to anger. I mean, they should be slow to anger nonetheless and not be damaging private property at all in general, in my opinion. But at worst, the policeman was justified in this one case, anyways. Now, this is not me justifying all police brutality cases against people, like I have been strawman to believe on arguments that I had on Facebook with people. For example, I think that the Philando Castile shooting was completely unjustified. There's that one recent shooting that the one girl was mistaking her gun to be a taser and whatnot. That was absolute bullshit.
A taser.
Yeah. Another unjustified example. Also, George Floyd. Nobody is justifying all cases of police brutality, plain and simple. And I don't even know the full details of a whole lot of other police brutality cases. All I'm just saying is that this one, that does not mean that I think that all police are justified.
One case out of God knows how many.
Probably one case out of 1,000 to 2,000 in a single year. If I had to guesstimate, that's about how many that happen per year. Total police shootings, anyways, regardless of race.
Maybe, but I've seen a lot in the past, like, month, so.
Who knows? Maybe it gone up because of
A lot of them go unreported because, skin color is definitely, a motivating factor for these news sources.
Right. The police debate getting ramped up. Like, I know that you've become a little bit more. That's pretty much all for this episode. We're going to save these next couple of. Well, actually, I'm going to say this right now.
Oh, the Free Thought Project. I love them.
I'm going to have to save that for next episode for right now. There's like a couple things that I just want to cover very quickly. I pre-read these 2 articles, so it ain't going to be too long. But a few episodes ago, as far as Strikeforce, a few episodes on this show, a few episodes ago, I got talking about voter fraud, and there was an article that was pointing out Bloomberg of how that he frauded his way into victory, and they cited this article right here. And I just gotta say, I read through this entire article, and they did not provide any evidence of him actually frauding his way into victory. He bought his way into victory. Like, it's like over $170 per vote that he won back in 2008, I think it was. But nonetheless, it's not exactly firm evidence of ballots being made up or mixed up or whatever. But as you guys might have heard, there are some efforts by Republicans to audit some of the election commissions throughout the United States. Like, there was the one in Arizona. Don't know the full details on that one, but pre-reading this article talking about Pennsylvania, it's apparently seeming like some of these Republican ballots are being denied. Just to read at least one paragraph anyways. The Fayette County Bureau of Elections told KDKA, a local CBS affiliate, that several precincts were having difficulty scanning barcodes on all ballots, and several voters told the outlets that their Republican ballots were not accepted. Chris Varney, an elections judge, told the outlet the issue was initially believed to be ballot affecting all ballots, but officials then determined the problem only affected Republican ballots. Now, I trust the Washington Examiner, but I think that it would do a lot better if they citing what those experts are instead of having them remain anonymous or whatever. But nonetheless, this definitely goes raising questions and seems to be at least slight evidence for the whole voter fraud narrative that the rest of my compatriots on the right like to talk about. So it definitely seems sus. So anyway, that's about it for what stories that we are going to cover and whatnot. But to sort of sum up a little bit of what we were talking about a little bit earlier, you go saying that you think that the amount of police shootings might be a little bit higher this year as compared to last few years. Or at least your projection is that way anyways, right, JJ?
Yeah.
Because you say that you've seen a lot in the last month?
Yeah.
Right. And I guess what I was about to say is that it would not be too surprising, seeing as how that last year really ramped up the race debates for one, but also the police debates as well. Like, I know that you have become a little bit of an ACABer yourself recently, but
I don't identify with ACAB, but I do not like cops.
You don't identify with ACAB?
No, because, fucking commies decide to ruin that shit like they always do.
For some reason I thought you you sympathize with the general statement, though, you said before, right?
I have the ACAB mindset, but I don't identify with ACAB.
Okay. But nonetheless, the point that I was going to go on about is that you have the more extreme segments of ACAB who are just calling for the outright death of cops. And if you have people just randomly pulling out their guns on cops because of, they get pulled over just for a speeding ticket, for...
To shoot.
Yeah.
If you're doing nothing and cops have a gun pulled out on you, that's when I would recommend pulling out your gun because you're trying to defend yourself.
Right.
But if the cops do not have their guns pulled, do not pull your gun out. That is unnecessary, and you're going to get yourself killed for nothing.
Countless Bathory in the live chat says, ANCAPs are right. We need private police. That way the good ones can get paid while the rest get removed. Yeah, I definitely like to see that. Like, as much of a minarchist I am, I think it would be an interesting idea if, say, local governments gone hiring out private security forces for their local security and whatnot, instead of having these they'd still technically be publicly funded, but they would not be technically publicly ran. But for their private security, you would have you would hire these privately ran companies instead of being totally publicly ran as it currently is. In the same way that cities go hiring private construction companies for the road construction and whatnot. People can point out the flaws in that being the same, and the flaws of public construction in that it's inefficient because of the fact that it is publicly funded, even though that it is privately ran. But nonetheless, I think that it's just a brainstorming idea, and it would still be that one step forward towards a privatized police force. Two police forces with incentive to find corruption in the other. Help sort out brutality cases quick, says Rusty the Fox-Coon. Precisely. The police forces would be keeping an extra sharp eye on each other. Oh, we found this case of corruption, this case of police brutality on our competition. Don't hire them, hire us. See, we got the squeakiest clean cops in town.
Police the police, literally.
Yep. Right, the police be policing themselves. Yeah, policing other police. You know what? That actually would be more of an incentivizing way for police to police each other. Whereas nowadays you have pretty much a lot of the cases good cops, if they go policing their fellow policemen, they get just fired on the spot by the police captain, sheriff, and the other executives that run the police department. But with the idea of private police, you would have a police company, a private security company policing another private security company, so on and so forth.
I feel like that might actually do some good if that were to actually be implemented.
And what is their incentive to actually do that? Money. Like, I know that everybody likes to say that money is the root of all evil, but there is no denying that money is an incentivizing structure. Let's be real.
It can be a root of evil, or it could be a root of good. It just depends on how it's implemented.
I wouldn't call it a root of good necessarily, but it is a...
it could lead to good.
Okay. It could, it could help in producing good.
Yep.
But anyway, just like the idea of background checks as a public service helps gun dealers make decisions who is safe and who might not be, says Rusty. Okay. Myth Goldfish says, I'm not sure that quick is better than fair. Justice takes time. I don't think that would work well for due process. I don't know of who's talking about a quick due process, a quick trial or anything like that. I mean, if we're talking about courts, I think courts would be a little bit of a different scenario than police. I mean, police would just, even though that it be private security, the police would still potentially be the enforcers of basic morals, ethics, and laws. Like, oh, we have a murder on our case here. Let's go ahead and stop it. We have theft happening in this area. Let's go and stop it. Oh, we have somebody going over the speed limit. Let's do that. Less likely to participate in the drug war, at least I would theorize anyways. But as far as trials go, to actually make sure that somebody is guilty or whatnot, the private security force's job would only be to arrest the potential criminal. There would still be, in my opinion anyways, public courts to determine how they fall under the law, if they really are the murderer, if they really are the rapists, and so on and so forth. Like, there would still be...
Immunity's a bitch.
Sorry, what?
Qualified immunity's a bitch.
I mean, there would still be an objective moral and ethical standard, but it would be the libertarian moral and ethical standard. That being just murder and rape is wrong and all those other stuff. But you can lose the process of justice when motivated by greed, says Myth Cuttlefish. Well, they would just arrest is all they do, but they would not convict, the private security forces. I mean, like I just said a little bit earlier. Rusty the Foxcoon says, let the dealer decide who is safe. Myth Cuttlefish says, and when you have two groups with different values vying over the citizenry, still tyrannical. Well, like I said, there's still one technical rule maker, that being... Well, the courts are not technically a rule maker. They are, in their own way, a rule enforcer. There would still be a legislative branch to, you know. Anyway, I'm just pretty much rambling right here, and it would take me too long to explain. But anyway, I think this is where that we're gonna pretty much wrap it up. JJ, what more do you gotta say before we go off air?
Don't be stupid, and be sure to look into things before you start believing in them.
Right? BLM. Black Lives Matter. But anyway, thank you all for joining the show tonight. It has been a great show, I will admit. Thank you all for leaving the likes. We are like sitting on 18 likes. Like, damn. Thank you all for boosting the algorithm in that way, and thank you all who have tuned in, even if it was very briefly. It really helps. And I'm back, baby. Every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Strike Force News, baby. Anyway, y'all stay safe. Have yourself a good night. God bless.